Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to the overview on the Unleash the Hounds change, and also some of the Nax spoilers that I haven't gone over yet. Now, for this particular video, I'm going to be joined by my personal favorite Swedish player in the world, sorry Forsan, Darkwonyx, who recently moved from Mana Grind to Team Curse actually, which completed their roster of 4. So, introduce yourself.
My name is Darkwonyx, and I currently play for Curse Gaming, or Team Curse Gaming, as we are right now. Team Curse even. So many names. It's me, Savage, Kit Kats, and Alchemist. So it's a very strong roster, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm Swedish. I'm 22 years old. Yo.
The Swedish Giant, as people tend to call you.
Yeah, I'm pretty tall.
Yeah, as we see on the on any of the Fight Night episodes, it's just like average height, cliff.
From my experience, I'm pretty tall.
Yeah, most Swedish people are, I found. Like, even average height Swedish people are taller than most.
Yeah, it's something with the the North genes up here.
Yep, basically.
Swedes, Danish, and Norwegian, Finnish people are pretty tall.
Scandinavians in general. But anyway, so we're going to be going over the Unleash the Hounds change and also the 3 Naxxramas spoilers. We got a class-specific one for Paladin, Warrior, and Rogue. So we're going to be doing it in that order from when they were actually spoiled. So without further ado, let's get started, Joey. Unleash the Hounds. Now, this was changed from 2 to 3 mana, and it's been interesting. I don't think it really did what people were fully expecting it to, you know, the sort of killing off Hunter thing. It didn't seem to accomplish that. People are still trying out Hunter. I still think it's a decent class, but it's just not as unfair, I think, was the major problem here. Unleash was just an unfair card before. It really was. I mean, I can't say for Hunter midrange, because that's a deck that while I tried, I didn't really like, even though it was quite powerful. So I don't have much experience with that kind of thing. But as far as Rush Hunter goes, having played it a lot actually after the change, you lose as many games as you win because people have stopped, like, they forgot how to play around Unleash the Hounds. It's kind of funny. They really do. You get bigger Unleash the Hounds now than you ever did.
Yeah, that is actually true.
Especially against Handlock. Handlock's become very popular recently.
Oh yeah, totally.
They're practically everywhere. So is Zoo. In fact, Warlocks in general have been up on the rise because of the Unleash change. There's less Hunters to punish them.
Yeah, I think the meta kinda, like, on the Legend ranks where I played, it was Sunshine Hunters everywhere. That was like the Pain on ladder, the Dominant, and everything like just relied around Sunshine Hunter. And the only counter to Sunshine Hunter was either Boom Rush Hunters or Miracle Rogues. That was, or even Tempo Rogues for that matter. But those 3 decks, archetypes, were the only counter to the Sunshine Hunter. And now when the Sunshine is gone, Miracle took over completely. So Miracle just flew up in the ranks, like high up further than everyone else, because Miracle is good against Druids, Shamans.
The only thing it's not good against is Face Rush Hunter, but less people are playing it.
Yeah, Face Rush Hunter and Warrior Aggro, which no one plays. I've seen it sometimes now.
I think I've seen it once in the past week.
I've seen it like 5 times. I made it like
That's
5
impressive.
times in 2 days.
That is impressive.
And also Handlocks. Handlocks is a good counter to Miracle Rogue.
The Miracle Rogue player has to play very oddly to beat a Handlock.
Yeah, not even only, because the main problem with Miracle versus Handlock is usually you want to sap their minions kind of early to gain a tempo advantage. But against Handlocks, you have to sap when they have given taunt. Like, you can't sap that Mountain Giant before it actually is taunted up, because you can't really get rid of it if it's already out there. And it's also a hard problem trying to mulligan against the Handlock, because against aggro you want to keep stuffs like Shiv,
Blade Flurry, Fan of Knives, things like that.
Fan of Knives, exactly. And against a Handlock you want to keep Auctioneer, conceal and those stuffs instead. So you
Mm.
have to mulligan very carefully. And even if you get an auctioneer, they can just shadow flame it with an ancient watcher or something.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
can take them
not that of
out.
a big deal.
They take them out pretty easily, and the other problem is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for Miracle Rogue against Handlock is I did try and learn the deck. I came to the conclusion that the deck is strong, I just don't like the playstyle. Like, I did play a lot of games with it. I played 150, 200 games with it to try and learn the deck, and I didn't really like it. And one of the reasons I didn't like it was not because of the strength of the deck, but it was because when you play against Warlock, if you mulligan the wrong way, you auto lose. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. If you don't keep the cards you need against Zoo, you get rolled over. And if you keep the cards you need against Zoo, if your opponent has like some fast Ancient Watcher start or like Twilight Drake start, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much you can do. And I didn't like that sort of variance. Although I do think Miracle Rogue is the strongest tournament deck right now. Like, for BlizzCon format type things. Because you know what you're going into. Like, we saw Reels in the Tavern Takeover. He knew what he was playing against, and that's why he went last with Miracle Rogue every time, apart from in the finals. And that's because he could reuse the deck. Like, if you know what you're playing against exactly, the deck is unbelievably powerful.
Yep.
But it has that weird uncertainty on ladder that has... Recently, it's become less of a thing because the balance between archetypes has sort of shifted more towards some particular decks.
Yeah.
So it's less of a thing. And that's sort of what we're talking about with the Unleash the Hounds things. The fact that mid-range Hunter really isn't around anymore. People have tried. I think someone's going to figure it out because from what I can tell, as long as you're playing explosive traps, like 2 explosive traps and 1 other trap and bows, you can get away with playing Unleash the Hounds at 3 mana. But
Yeah.
you can't rely on it only.
I
Like,
see what you mean. I think it's gonna be pretty hard for the Sunshine Hunter to actually do anything against Sue.
yeah,
now
you
with
need the
the-
explosives. You really
Yeah,
do.
but even if you have the explosives, I'm not sure it's gonna be enough. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Zoo has been one of those things. I've been tracking a lot of my games recently with Hearthstone Tracker, and I've noticed that my Warlock matchup, like, it doesn't stay at one percentage. It, like, fluctuates, because it's so draw-based. Like, even if you get a crazy start with Hunter, if your opponent gets a bad start, which is the mid-rangey one with Defender of Arguses and, like, not many one-drops at all, and it's the slow one, that's actually the good start against your deck. Like,
Yeah.
because you can't kill that. You just can't get through all the random stuff, and it just is really painful. So Zoo is a big problem. I think Zoo has become one of the more cancerous things on ladder now, because
Yeah, well, it's
just
always been
everywhere.
cancer. Every season, every day.
It always has
Sue
been.
is always gonna be the cancer class or cancer everything.
They gave an aggro deck life tap as a hero power. What do you
Yeah,
expect?
exactly.
Like,
It's like there's no meta, I think, ever that's gonna make Sue bad in a case, because Sue can always beat anything as long as they get good draws.
Zoo is...
It also depends your opponent to not get the perfect
Yeah,
draws.
I noticed that Zoo players, like, I was talking to some of the people that I do know who, while... This happens a lot to me, by the way. This stupid...
Is that like a grass cutter or something?
It's a guy using a chainsaw to trim a hedge, and I'm not kidding. He actually does that. It's insanely loud.
Fuck.
He gets it done in like 5 minutes, but it's like so lazy. But anyway...
Try shaving with that one.
Yeah. But a lot of the people I talk to, I mean, for me, there seems to be like a couple of stages of like good player, and the professional ones are like at the top. But even then, there's like multiple levels in that, and you get it. But anyway, the sort of the semi layers and sort of what I'm trying to transition into again, because I lost a lot through lack of practice. Like, my knowledge of the game didn't decrease, but my actual ability to play it did, and that's why I had so much trouble like getting back up to the level I wanted to be at. Is because if you don't have that practice, you just don't get it, and that comes from playing a lot, and that's what in my opinion separates the average professional player from from like just a talented player, is the fact that they actually have the dedication to play a lot and sort of apply the understanding of the game. And what I think one of the major things from I'm gonna call it was last season basically pre-Unleash, even though Unleash did spill into this one a bit. But last season there were a couple of zoo locks at like high levels, and people were getting really really confused because everyone on ladder had convinced themselves that if you get one Starving Buzzard combo with no explosives or anything in the deck, if you get one Starving Buzzard combo against Zoo, you instantly win the game. That is not how that works.
Nope. Can't play around it.
Like, in fact, most of the time, as long as you don't have like 5 minions on the board, that is not the case. Like, seriously, I mean, on Unleash, unless you have a bunch of Hunter's Marks or something, it wasn't going to kill much if you got the mid-rangey start, as I said. So Zoo was seeing play at higher levels, and now, I mean, it was a bad matchup, but it wasn't unwinnable. Like, it really wasn't, and like, Unleash the Hounds, the reason it was nerfed was not because of Zoo. It was nerfed because of other unfair things it had a habit of doing, like Leroy Jenkins, for example.
It's because of everything, basically. The card was too strong itself.
It was
as long as the opponent had 2 creatures, it was already value.
It was like Arcane Intellect with damage on it.
Yeah, it was... I don't think they are comparing it with the Buzzard in this case when they nerfed it. I just think overall, for 2 mana, you get basically a 2/2 charge beast. And because it has beast, that means it has some kind of effect to its stats as well.
Yeah.
Because you watch River Crocodile or the Raptor as well, they have bad stats because they are beasts. So this guy had better stats than average. Like the closest you can get is the Murloc 2/1 for 2 mana charge. This was a 2/2 charge.
Multiple 1/1s are actually much better than 2/2s
exactly,
as well.
even multiple 1/1s. And because it has beast, it can get buffed by so many different instances as well that just makes it even better. So the card was just, it was ridiculous on its own, but it got even better with a combination.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I didn't like playing the mid-rangey Hunter, which, wait, what name did you give it?
Sunshine Hunter.
Okay. But anyway, one of the reasons I didn't really like playing that deck was because while all the Unleash combos were powerful, it felt like I was playing some weird elaborate mid-range combo deck. Because there's so many combos that all revolve around one card, and I think that's why the deck kind of broke once the nerf came through. It was because the deck was so focused on one card. It's like, I mean, it's the kind of thing where if they... like Miracle Rogue, for example, is so focused on Gadgetzan.
Yep.
And it's pretty much the same thing. Like, it's very difficult to win without that card.
Yeah, it is.
It's very difficult to win without it. And it was the same with Unleash the Hounds. Like, you just had, like, Scavenging Hyenas sitting in your hand, like Starving Buzzards, and there were some cards that were good without it, like the Asavenya Lion, and also, like, Houndmaster. But...
Simba.
Yeah, Simba the Lion. But anyway, and then we had the Houndmaster and such. This is good, like, without Unleash. But what people need to realize about the Hunter sort of mid-range archetype, if they want to keep playing it, is that you can't linchpin on this one card anymore. Like, you need to use other removal.
Yeah.
You can't just use
Unleash
this.
wasn't... I wouldn't say Unleash was the winning factor of the deck, but it prevented the opponent to win.
Yeah, it held the deck
like
together.
Your big, very card that actually kept you alive for so long, because if the Hunter control's weakness is literally just your opponent flooding the board and kill you before you can get your stuffs out, and before you can get the Buzzard combo with all the beasts at the same time.
Exactly.
So it basically kept you alive and prevented your opponents to kill you quickly, so your deck could keep on going. Because if they tried to kill you quickly, they got so punished from Unleash. So they had to play slowly by having like 1 or 2 minions out, and then the big guys came out, like the high mains, which was really hard to deal with. And when the high men come out, that's when your opponent has to deal with it and put minions on the board, and that's when Unleash come and waff waff, something dies.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. Compared to the Miracle Rogue, the Auctioneer, you kinda need Auctioneer to actually win the game. But in the Sunshine Hunter, the Unleash was just preventing your opponent to actually win.
It
I
was
would
still
say.
the linchpin of the deck, I would say, though.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you could say that. I mean, you could say that the freaking lion. Why can't I remember the name of this? I made a video with it a
What?
week ago.
I mean, or
Yeah, Savannah Highmane. God damn it. Anyway, but you could say Savannah Highmane is what like wins the game,
yeah,
but it it was the kind of thing where you could win without Savannah Highmane, but you could only win without Unleash the Hounds in certain matchups. Because you needed Unleash to sort of patch the holes together. That was the combo network. That was that deck.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, if you get the nut draw of like turn 2 coin Animal Companion into like Misha, turn 3 Animal Companion Misha, turn 4 Hound Master, then yeah, congratulations, you are the luckiest person in the world. Like we don't need Unleash the Hounds for this. But it was the normal draw that was the problem. If you didn't have Unleash, the normal draw was bad. But then if you did have Unleash, the normal draw was ridiculously overpowered.
yeah.
And that was the problem with the deck, I think, and that's why it got nerfed at least. This wasn't a target to face rush Hunter. I do find it hilarious though. When they announced the change, I was on Trump's screen at the time, and they announced the change, and then the entire chat was like, "Yes, face rush Hunter's dead now. They killed it. They finally killed it with fire." And I'm like,
Nah,
no, they didn't.
Space Rush Hunter existed before when Unleash was
It
4 mana
did,
even.
yeah. I actually did a
So
weekly on the original version.
yeah, turn 7 Hunter, what it was
Yeah,
called
like turn
back
7
then.
Hunter.
So
Like,
it did still exist, and it will still exist. You
like
won't get away from that. But the thing is, with Face Rush Hunter, there are still some hard counters to it.
yeah, like
But it is
it's
the Control Hunter. There wasn't really a hard counter. There was
it's
just
still
good
with
decks
face
against
rush.
it.
Face rush Hunter, people bitch about it, but it's still like
Yep.
50% across the board. Like if you actually look at it, it's still 50% across the board. Like it's bad against Control Warrior. You have to play in a really weird way, and Darkwonyx's camera is like pissing me off. The blurriness. But against Control Warrior, it's kind of bad, but you have to play in like a really weird way. Ramp is a bad matchup. But then you have like Miracle Rogue, which is a very, very good matchup, and any weird Paladin decks are very, very good matchups and things like that. And there's merits to the deck and there's things against it. And the Unleash the Hounds nerf, it only really affected its matchup against Zoo slightly, and the other thing is it means you can't do the Leroy combo like until a turn later. That was what I saw the deck like what it actually affected the deck in. So it did change the deck, but it didn't change it to the point where people thought, oh, the deck is like dead now. They killed it with fire. Like finally we don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. It's like with Warlock if they made Voidwalker into a Goldshire Footman and everyone's like, deck's dead, done. It's like, no, it isn't. Oh, I think your microphone's actually stopped working. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, muted button. Sometimes it goes off. I have no idea how. It reaches a core. Damn camera! It's supposed to be HD quality. But yeah, I would say like the Face Rush Hunter is still alive, but I would say the Sunshine is dying slowly.
Yeah, there needs to be a new version.
I'm not sure if there's gonna be a new version actually, because Unleash kinda kept it together, and I'm not sure there's gonna be cards that actually are
Yeah.
enough to put it back.
It might be until Naxxramas.
I
Like,
think the Hunters have like the cards in the Hunters they do have so much potential. They are like some really insane cards. Buzzard is a card that they will eventually need to fix. All the cards that are free card draw mechanics needs to get fixed in the future. The more cards that comes out, because you can combo so much with Buzzard. Like Buzzard Unleash was one of the broken combos,
twice.
and if exactly, and if more beast comes out, makes Buzzard even better. The more beast that comes out, like better, better, better.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually, so Unleash was just a temporal fix to Hunter for now, but
I mean,
as well as tracking is also really, really, I would say, like too good, because it would be one thing if you choose one card and put the rest back into your deck, but now you actually choose one card and you discard the rest, and that makes you like go through your deck quicker, and you find the cards that you want more, and you have more value in your deck than your opponent has, because you know what cards you're gonna get more likely. Let's say like you throw away a boar and a kill command, then you know like, oh, okay, I don't need to draw those cards anymore, so the rest cards I have are the cards I want to get.
I do think that tracking, though, like at the highest level, it does have that kind of weird broken thing about it for a cantrip spell. But I
Yeah.
think in general, what they're sort of looking for is the fact that it is a card that becomes better the higher in skill you go. Like, it's a terrible card if you're not good at the game.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad. Like, if you're not good at the game, don't even use it. But once you get to the highest levels, it's like a really good card. But for most people, it's kind of balanced. So I don't think they're gonna nerf tracking because the skill cap on it to make it like overpowered is quite high. So I don't think they're actually going to change it. Although I do see where you're coming from, and it's the kind of card which, as I said, since I've been like playing so much more recently, when I started with the trackings, it feels awful every single time you play a tracking. But then you start to love the card.
Yeah, you start to love it because you know how you can play around it. It's like, okay, I'm not ever gonna.
Need
If
this,
you get
yeah.
like Leroy or something, you're gonna choose Leroy because you know you're never gonna draw him if you don't choose him.
Yeah.
So you learn what's the eventual pick, and a way to connect to the fixed tracking is either you put the cards back in your deck somewhere, shuffle it, I don't know.
I would actually
Or
prefer that in general, and while it would make the actually I would prefer that change because it makes the card less overpowered at higher levels, and
yeah,
actually easier to use at lower levels.
exactly. Or you can have your opponents. You can reveal to your opponents the cards that you discard. That is also a good tip.
Yeah, that's I hate
Like Doomguard. If you play Doomguard and your opponent discards two cards, and let's say you don't know what the cards are, that would be horrible. Like, yeah, he discarded another Doomguard or a Soulfire or Leroy or whatever. You get really happy. But if you don't get to see what you discard, or the opponent's discard, it gets so much harder.
Yeah, you have to play around it continuously, and it's
Exactly. So either
yeah.
you discard those two cards and you reveal them, or you put them back into your deck.
I mean, at
That,
least we're not into like brainstorm territory from
yeah,
Magic. Where it's just like draw 3, discard 2. But
exactly.
it's more like ponder. It's pretty really powerful, and I do think that they're gonna change the card at some point, and if they do, it's probably gonna be for more of an ease of use thing. Because it is a really, really bad user experience, at least for most people, like at lower to medium and even slightly above medium level. It's horrible using tracking. Like
Yep.
you use tracking and you're just like, oh, this is 3 cards I actually really want. You
I don't
get
think
yeah.
most people realize that you actually discard those cards, that you will never ever draw them again.
You will never
I
draw
don't,
them again, yeah,
I don't think most people realize that actually at lower levels.
because they're not
They just
checking their
think,
deck size.
yeah, they don't check the deck size. I don't think. That's what I was like when I was started playing. I didn't realize it until later. That's
Yeah,
just
it's
what I think that people don't actually like try to think about it. That you will never draw those cards again.
mm,
So you have to really just like choose wisely.
choose one and then you don't get the other ones. That's why you always pick Leroy.
Yeah, exactly. So like sometimes when I see players tracking turn one and like two really cheap cards or Leroy, they pick Leroy and then everyone is like, no, why did you pick Leroy? It's so bad. Like you could choose the other cards instead. You could play them.
It's
And
it's a
like,
very skill testing card. Like I
yeah,
think the most skill testing part about tracking is when you have nothing to do and you need to use it for mana efficiency, which is especially important with Hunter. Like you need to
yeah.
use it for mana efficiency, like turn 1 tracking, and then most players like want to kill themselves. Like on
Yeah,
that
turn one
first.
tracking is actually pretty bad against most stuffs. Because if you turn one tracking and you say if you face a warlock and you turn one tracking, that's almost suicidal.
Yeah,
Because
you
you
don't
don't know
want
if they're
to.
aggro or hand lock.
You don't want to turn 1 tracking, especially going first.
Yeah,
If you're going second, it's okay because if they don't play a 1-drop, then they're either not zoo or they got such a bad draw that you shouldn't even worry about it in the first place. Since their entire deck is 1-drops. But yeah, so like turn 1 tracking going second is generally okay. Or the other one I found is against warrior, because against warrior you need to hero power every single turn.
yeah,
To beat them, unless you're playing the mid-rangey hunter, which I wish you luck with. But yeah, you need to hero power like every single turn, so the mana efficiency actually really matters. And the other thing is against rogue, because if you're against tempo rogue, that guy needs a medal, because he hasn't jumped the bandwagon yet. Like seriously, they're so rare. I've seen like 4, I think, recently.
Really?
So yeah, I've seen 4 tempo rogues recently, out of about 120 rogues.
Oh shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of rogues.
Yeah.
It's getting to World of Warcraft territory.
Everyone is like the new Miracle Rogue with Asur Drakes and Earthen Rings.
Yeah, the one that like Force End decided it would be a good idea to add Earthen Rings into, and
Yeah.
everyone
I'm
collectively
not
hates
sure
him for
who
it
actually
now.
made that deck, but I don't know.
He popularized it, so someone in the comments is gonna like sue me for crediting the wrong person. That usually happens, but he popularized it, so yeah. But anyway, as far as Unleash the Hounds goes, though, I think we're done. Like, I even wrote an article about it actually.
Oh yeah.
I actually wrote an article about it. The last tournament recap I did, we had some problems with the deck lists, so I ended up writing an article on the Unleash the Hounds change and what I would predict that it was going to change, and I think I was fairly accurate. I did miss
Handlocked?
1 or 2 things.
Did you expect Handlock to come back?
Yeah, I expected Handlock to come back. I expected Miracle to get more popular, and things like Warrior to go down in popularity slightly. Because of like the new Miracle decks, and like first go up and then go down, and yeah, things like that. I can't remember the exact article, but if you're interested, go read it. Look on the Mana Grind section of Hearthstone. It's like a week back, I think. But anyway,
Oh yeah.
moving on to the second half of the show for now, we're going to be going over the 3 Naxxramas spoilers, because I don't make videos on one card. So I don't update like on one spoiler. I tend to tag them on the end of things. But anyway, we're going to start with, I would say, probably the most talked about of all the recent spoilers, which is Avenge, which is a 1 mana Paladin secret. Why did you make another Paladin secret?
I don't know.
Just random thing. No one likes the Paladin secrets.
I
Seriously.
guess it's a way to actually buff secrets by
Yeah.
adding more secrets,
But
so it
no one
confuses your
likes
opponent what you
them.
actually have.
Anyway,
That's the only way you can buff them.
that's true. That and Secret Keeper. But
Yeah.
anyway, Secret. No kidding. When one of your minions dies, give a friendly minion +3/+2. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous with Harvest Golem. If you play the Harvest Golem first.
Yeah, I guess.
Keep that in mind, guys. If you play the Avenge first, it doesn't, like, go off. Like, it just doesn't go off because there's no eligible target. So if you want the damage golem to get hit by the Avenge trigger from the Harvest Golem dying, you have to play the Harvest Golem first.
Are you
Because,
sure about that?
well, based on the way other secrets work, that should be the way it works, unless they decided to mess up the stack again, which wouldn't be the first time. Like, remember Sylvanas, like, before they bug fixed it?
Yeah.
The Sylvanas trading was insane. It was completely random. They fixed it eventually, but it was a
Yeah.
bug fix on one of the patches. It was completely random. So they have messed up the trap stack and just trigger stacking in general before. So wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't work that way, but I think it should.
I'm not sure actually.
I'm not sure how that would work. But it's a death rattle based set, so that's why.
What I've noticed is usually when there's something death rattle, the death rattle happens after every effect. That's the abomination and harvest golem or something.
Okay.
Because you never kill the token with the abomination explode. Not what I've noticed, at least. All the tries I've done. Because everything explodes, and then the harvest golem guy come out. And if this works the same, the guy dies, the secret procs, and then the golem comes out. I guess that's the case. I'm not sure. So I can't say actually for now how it's gonna work.
It feels like one of those we're gonna need to test it things.
Yeah, I don't think it will work with harvest golem actually. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because there's no minion on the board when the harvest golem dies, and that's when Avenge triggers. So I don't think it will trigger.
Okay, so the die trigger thing goes first.
Yeah,
That makes sense. That does make sense. I do feel like it's one of those things we're gonna have to test though, but I think you may be correct here.
because that will make Abomination and the other next card, what's the name? The Poison Seeds. That will make that really sick if you just Poison Seed everything against 2/2s and then it explodes and kills everything.
Yeah, we had
Complete
this
for
discussion actually when I had I do believe it was Smaka on for the poison seed thing,
Yeah,
and we got really
it's
confused.
not gonna happen. Yeah, it's not gonna
Like-
happen. Like the Abomination is gonna explode first, and then all the guys gonna become 2/2s.
Yeah, we got really confused about that though. So it's, I mean, they aren't taking a risk by going for a Death Rattle set first because Death Rattle is literally the most confusing mechanic they could base the set on.
Yeah.
But anyway, as for the actual card, I feel like this is actually, I mean, it works with the hero power really well.
Yeah, it does.
I think so.
The only problem that I
Okay.
see is to actually nerf the secrets that they can't proc.
Yeah,
on their
that's
own
the
turn.
major problem. Like, that's the problem I have with this, is the fact that it doesn't protect your board against AoE in any way. And
Yeah.
you can't trigger on your turn, which I know was designed to nerf Hunter trap stacking thing, which I do appreciate, but it also destroyed half the Paladin secrets. So good job on that one.
Yeah.
Like, Redemption, pretty bad now. Eye for an Eye, even worse than it was, which was impressive.
Yeah. I don't like. I would like to have the tracks or the traps can proc on your own turn.
I preferred it
Because
when
this
it
trap
could.
is pretty horrible if you can't proc on your own turn. I think.
I'm not sure if it's terrible, but I think it's pretty bad. Although it does work with
Yeah,
Divine
it's-
Shields ridiculously well. Like if they AoE your board and you have an Argent Squire,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like one of the cases. But it's not too good still.
yeah, I mean you could.
Even if
You can use things like a Mani Berserker as the other one.
like the what's it called? The Argent Squire is gonna become like a injured blade master or something. That's all.
It's still good.
It's good, but it's for
it's
one
beat
card
stick.
as well. It's one for one.
It's like a blessing
it's
of
good,
might
but-
that you can't control. That's the problem I have with this.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like a giant growth from magic, but it doesn't end off at the end of your turn.
no, this
It's a
is
permanent
like
buff.
this is like that stupid flash enchantment thing that gave +3/+3. But
I don't remember that one actually. But yeah,
yeah, there was one like that. But anyway, it's like one of those, and it's kind of weird because you can't control what it goes on. That's the major problem I have with this card, is the fact that Hearthstone has this weird thing where absolutely everything that triggers without you like clicking can't be selected.
yeah,
So everything is RNG based, which, while it makes the game move faster, also leads to some very possibly good cards being very, very bad. So this feels like one of those cards which it has so much potential, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Unless
Yeah.
Paladin aggro suddenly becomes unstoppable with all the Divine Shields or something.
yeah, exactly.
I don't see that happening.
I'm not sure neither.
I mean, although I do think that Paladin Death Rattle may become a thing.
Mm.
Because that would be a use of Redemption, but even then I'm a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
Nah, I think this is one of the worst new cards that are added. Like I would say almost all the other class cards are better.
Yeah. Although the Rogue one does give it a bit of a run for its money. Anyway, moving on to the Warrior card. Now this is the one out of the three that I'm most excited about. This is Death's Bite, 4 mana, 4/2 weapon, Death Rattle, Whirlwind. Now,
Yeah.
question, how can a weapon have Death Rattle?
When you used the both.
No,
Charges,
I mean,
or-
like, in any other game, it would be when this weapon is destroyed, not when this weapon dies. Because that's
Yeah,
what
that's true.
Death Rattle's description is. It's whenever the minion dies, the Death Rattle takes place.
Oh yeah, then it, so if you're gonna like look at the card and it's gonna say whenever this minion dies. I don't know. They have to change the
They
wording
need to
somehow.
change that, yeah.
Whenever
Like,
dies.
whenever a character dies.
Yeah, I'm not even sure like a weapon is a character. That would be pretty weird.
Yeah, it isn't a character. Oh my, no,
Become
what have
my
you
weapon
guys
and character.
done?
Whenever something dies.
Whenever something
Or
dies, yes.
just whenever dies.
Whenever.
Just leave it at that. Whenever dies. Boom.
Whenever anything leaves the field.
Yeah.
But anyway, aside from the random weird like death rattle thing, I do like this weapon.
Yeah, it's perfect, especially for warriors.
I love this weapon. Like I love it in both of the warrior decks that are being played. Warrior control I don't have as much experience with, but the way I see it is it kills a 4/4 and then it kills a chill wind.
Yeah.
Like that's a major thing. But in aggro warrior, it's basically the eagle horn bow for aggro warriors. Like it's a decent amount, and it enrages all of your stuff as well. So, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the problems like the rushy aggro warrior has is the fact that there's a lot of filler cards in it. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of cards you just don't want in there, but you want to use some of the other things like Corcoran Elite and Arcanite Reaper and things like that.
Yep.
This is also much like adding 2 extra weapons to the deck also makes it less vulnerable to acidic Swampoos.
Yeah.
So
I would also say like this weapon, considering the current best weapon in the game is True Silver,
yeah,
is
it's true. So
arguable one of the best.
I
With like True Silver and Gore Howl and Fury Warx.
I don't think you can really like. I mean, we've had this discussion with weapons before. I would say True Silver comes out on top though.
Yeah. Because 4 mana and kill something for 4. It's a very good removal in almost all cases. Just look at Swipe, True Silver, what more, Soulfire. Like 4 damage removals are really strong.
Yeah.
That's why Yetis and guys like that became popular in the first place, because you have 5 health, it survives everything that hits 4 damage.
Goes to your Drake, but you keep the weapon.
Exactly, like a Surdrake dies, and almost like everything dies before turn 5, or even turn 6 in that case.
This also messes with Sunwalkers.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can actually kill a Sunwalker by replacing your Death Spite with an Arcanite Reaper.
Oh yeah, that's true if you just replace it.
Because the Whirlwind goes off and then you kill the Sunwalker.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah,
And
that is
also,
a weird interaction.
The whirlwind effect with this one, it makes the weapon a swipe, or leave it a 5 damage swipe. Second attack, it becomes like a 5 damage swipe. 5 damage and 1 to everything.
And there is a card called Frothing Berserker.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
there's like in warrior control, there's Armor Smith, Frothing,
Acolyte Pain.
Acolyte of Pain. There's so many cards that actually benefits by you hurting them. In
Would you
Chromage even.
Would you replace
proc-
Corcoran
proc-
Elite with this?
I'm not sure what I would replace for now. Actually, I think they will have to make some new. It wouldn't replace a card, I don't think. I think it would change the deck list a bit.
Interesting.
Because this is, I'm not sure if 2 whirlwinds are gonna be needed
If you have
a
this
death
as well.
spite, because it's generally a whirlwind in its own.
That
So
makes sense.
like they have to change the whole deck, like take out whirlwind, maybe put in more hard removals, or I don't know, like
You could have like a
it's gonna be changed.
Cleave and a Death Spite instead of 2 Whirlwinds.
I don't even like Cleave right now, because I think
Ah.
the reason why I put in Cleave in my war deck was when the Hunters were really popular, because it was one way to actually deal with Huffer,
And Savannah High Main.
High Main, exactly, that's one main reason, and because the counters too, the Hunter was like Sue and stuff like that. So Cleave was like, it fit perfectly in that meta, but I don't think Cleave is as good in this meta when the Miracles and comes into play.
That makes
So I took out
sense.
Cleave.
This is good against Miracle.
Exactly, this is good against, but I'm not sure actually.
Well, I mean, it lets you
Doesn't help that
apply.
much.
It lets you apply pressure, and it also means that if they don't have the conceal, they are guaranteed to lose their auctioneer.
Yeah, but that's usually in every case. If you don't conceal auctioneer, it dies somehow. Shield block, shield slam, execute, or something kills it. It's always gonna die usually against the warrior.
You do
So I don't
keep the
think they have
weapon
to
though,
worry about that.
which is nice.
Yeah, but I really like this weapon because its potential to kill aggro decks. You have a much higher win rate, or will have, against Sue with weapons like
Yeah,
this.
and I'm fine with Zoo like not having a higher win rate because that deck is, it's one of those, like it's a unfair fair deck.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a cancer deck.
It's not trying to do anything unfair. It's just doing the fair thing in an unfair way.
Yeah.
Like
I've never liked Zoo. Like,
it's trying to
people
kill
know
you
me.
with creatures, but the problem is that it's churning out creatures like 2 a turn because it has life tap.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the problem I have with Zoo at least. And
I don't like any deck that when you put like 28 minions and 2 spells, I wouldn't call that a good deck. In most no deck should have that kind of way to actually work properly. Just fill it with all creatures you have and 2 spells or 3 spells now with.
which don't even
the
cost
return of
anything
power
basically.
whelming. Yeah, it's not even spells. You throw them away because you don't have anything left to play or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. I don't like the
Yeah,
way to work.
that's why I think people, because Paladin has been so absent, people have forgotten how good a 4/2 weapon is for 4.
Yeah.
Like, people are downplaying this and saying, oh, it isn't that good, it's like a really bad fiery war axe. But no, the difference between 3 and 4 is actually quite a big deal.
Yeah. This weapon is really good because Control Warrior for that matter, had a problem between 4 and 6 mana curve. Or like 4 and 6 mana, that's when you didn't really have much to play at all. That's why I put in Jetties and stuffs in my old warrior decklist, because something for 4 mana, which eventually replaced with Corcoran Elites. But 5 mana, you didn't have anything but Brawl, Faceless if you had Faceless. Brawl and Faceless, that was the only cards.
And you
Sylvanas,
rarely Faceless in turn 5.
yeah, like Sylvanas back in the days as well. That's why it was really good. And 6 mana, Cairn. And like those big legendaries drops, Cairn and Black Knight, Sylvanas now. That's basically it. So the 4 to 6 mana is the warrior's weakness, or like the slow paced turns. That's what you want, like the Frothings and Armor Smiths and Acolytes and weapons to carry you until you get to turn 7, when you start pumping up your big guys. So this card is perfect for preventing your opponents to do anything for the coming 2 turns. And it's a really nice board clear as well. So it's perfect for the Control Warrior decks. And I would say it's really good for aggro decks as well.
And this is why I brought him on.
Damage.
This is why I brought you on. I know practically nothing about Warrior.
Oh yeah, but let's imagine like you play against a Warrior aggro. One of the most hated cards in that matchup is the Arcanet Reaper, because it's 10 damage for 5 mana. And here comes another 8 damage for 4 mana. So it can be so much damage you can take by just the weapons now. You have Fear War Axe, Death Bite into Arcanet Reaper. That's insane damage. It's insane damage actually.
It's one of the reasons why Eaglehorn Bow is like arguably the best card in the Hunter deck. Because it's like 9-12 damage sometimes.
Exactly. So this card is, I don't know, more weapons for Warrior. I would say that's actually too much. I wouldn't use another weapon just as the Paladin gets another secret, because I think that's overkill. I would rather give the weapon to, I don't know, Paladin, I think.
Yeah, Paladin got kind of shafted with the weapon thing. It's like, hey, Paladin has 2 weapons. And I'm like, alright, Truce Over and one that most people can't name.
Sword of Justice?
Light's Justice, and then the Sword of Justice.
Yeah,
there's two weapons that are actually good, and then there's the third one which people are like, it's like, oh, it has 1 attack. Oh, that's Sword of Justice. No, there's another one.
I actually used that in my World of Warcraft guy as a transmog. Funny.
That's
I was
brilliant.
watching my glowing yellow sword and a mace, and I was like, Light Justice, yay!
That's awesome.
But it did more damage. So.
Well, that's not difficult. Anyway, moving on to the last card, which we got yesterday, actually. Anubar Ambusher.
Anubar Ambusher.
Okay. 4 mana 5/5. Good start.
Yep.
Death Rattle. Return a friendly minion to your hand as a rogue card. Now, this is suffering from the Kidnapper syndrome, I think. But, mostly the fact that it's return a random friendly minion, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awkward.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward. What I realized about the card, it can be really good, or it can be really bad. It has both potential for both actually. If you can find a deck which this card actually fits in, it can be really good.
Weirdly enough, I actually think that the deck that this could fit in is something closer to Miracle, but not running like the full set because you're not playing as many minions.
Exactly.
Like,
as long as you have like an SI agent.
It's good pressure. It's good pressure. Like everything in the Miracle deck, apart from Gadgetzan, even then, like bouncing at Gadgetzan, not the worst thing in the world. In fact, yeah, everything else in the Miracle deck you kind of want to bounce.
Yeah.
So I think that like the card could be good in there if like someone wants to run it, because I know some people don't like Azure Drake, even though I quite like Azure Drake in that deck. But this is a harder to remove sort of threat, and it also lets you reuse your Earthring Farseers and SI7s.
Yeah. I think this card has potential. I do.
Just not in Tempo Rogues. People have been saying, like, put it in Tempo Rogues. I'm like, no, put a Yeti in Tempo Rogues.
Maybe aggro rogues.
What?
Maybe that would work if it like you make an aggro rogue deck. I think new decks can be made.
They could, but the problem is it's a Death Rattle set. It's not a Battle Cry set.
Yeah, it's a Death Rattle, but you have to kill it. Like, if you just play like lonely guys like Leper Gnome turn 1 and Loot Hoarder turn 2, guys that actually dies before turn 4, and then turn 4 you play this card. And you can even play charger guys with this card. Let's play you play Leroy. You have this guy on the board, you play Leroy, you attack, you trade this guy, you get your Leroy back to your hand. Stuff like this.
That is true. I mean, the
Same
problem is it could be very good, but it does have that weird sort of drawback thing where it kind of feels like I'd rather have a Dancing Swords. Like, Dancing Swords, the reason why that card is so good is because if you put it in a very, very aggressive deck, then if you put it in a very, very aggressive deck, if it dies, I doubt that the card they drew is going to even matter by the time they're dead. Like, having a 3-mana 4/4 is pretty crazy. Having a 4-mana 5/5, it's good, but there's ways of dealing with it. Like, we've seen this with Yeti, and the other problem is the Death Rattle. It has upsides, like with Leroy and Charge Minions, and also like Defias, Ringleader, and SI7 and such. The problem is that the average Tempo Rogue list is playing things like Loot Hoarder, which you get denied a card from. Or if it's bouncing Defias, like the wrong half gets bounced, or like Fairy Dragon gets really awkward. Spiteful Smith, you just want to kill yourself if that gets bounced. Like, seriously, there's some really bad things that can get bounced by this thing.
It is. It's not the card to put in Tempo Rogue.
I would not put it in Tempo Rogue, although I do like the principle of putting it in something like Miracle, like some sort of future variation of Miracle.
Yeah, right now I don't.
Not now.
Think there's any card I would rather take out for this one. That's the problem.
I think Azure Drake.
Cards.
Azure Drake is what people are thinking about, but I like Azure Drake a lot.
Yeah, you can't replace Azure Drake with this one because Azure Drake is the cycling card and the card to put pressure out on the board at the same time. And
it's so
spell
good.
Powers for rogues is really useful.
It's so good. Like, Azure Drake is really, really good.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do understand that people are trying to like figure out where to put this, and the general consensus from people is like, "Oh, it's terrible." I don't think it's bad. I should know.
It's not bad. It's interesting.
I think this is going to be one of those cards, kind of like, unlike I mean, this is like Poison Seed to me. It's either going to be completely ridiculously good or very, very bad. And it's gonna sort of depend on what the meta is when the actual set comes out.
Yeah.
Like, if the meta is very, very aggressive, then this is actually decent for like mid-rangey decks. Because if they invest enough resources into killing this,
yeah,
like, by all means.
Are there any cards that actually can make this card even more useful, like Defias Ringleader or something? I don't know.
But you might bounce the token though.
Yeah, that's true. You trade a token before.
I mean, at first, like, as soon as I saw this, because I've played a lot of other card games, so as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, you get to choose what it returns. And I'm like, wait a second, no you don't. This is Hearthstone.
Blizzard don't like that potential interrupting your opponent's turn. Like, they don't like you having options at your opponent's turn. They want your opponent's turn to be their turn. That's what I realized.
Yeah, they don't want like any clicking interaction.
Exactly.
Which is I don't particularly like, but you can kind of see where they did it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do think, yeah, as I said with Poison Seed, like this is either going to be very, very good or very, very bad. I don't think there's not really much of a middle ground. That's the problem I have.
I don't know. I think like new decks are going to be made with this card. Not the current Tempo Rogue, not the Miracle, but
Like new stuff.
yeah, new stuffs are gonna come out. Like Sunshine Hunter was something completely new.
Yeah.
So like new things are going to be made in the future. Doesn't have to be the same decks
That's true.
all the time. But
Yeah, as far as the rest of the Nax like stuff goes, though, I would say overall with the spoilers, we've actually seen some decent stuff so far.
yeah.
Like the spoilers have been pretty good. Like we have, I mean, out of these three, we kind of have a maybe, a no, and a yes. But from the rest of the things, we have like Nerubian Egg, which is really nice. We have the new Secret Keeper for Death Rattles, which I kind of like.
It's okay.
I like it just because even like there's just from the stuff that's been spoiled and what's already in the game, you already have like half the deck. Like, you know, with Leprinomes and Harvest Golems and Boot Hoarders and things like that. These are already good cards. So, I mean, Baron Rivendare, I don't think he's that good, but I think he's one of those cards people are going to be like, I really want to make a deck with them.
Yeah, like it's one of those cards in every game that, oh, look at this card. It can be so nice if you actually could play it.
X, Y,
at
and
turn.
Z happens.
Yeah, when you have 10 mana and you play
Ancestral
Baron,
Spirit
this
is
guy or-
hilarious, though, with that thing. Like, if you have Ancestral Spirit on a Cairn,
What the fuck?
it makes 2 4/5s and then another 2 Cairns.
Imagine putting it on this guy instead.
Oh.
You get 2 Baron Rivendares. Oh yeah. How about that? Combo combo.
Wombo
When you
combo.
play a new Baron Busher or something and you take the Pope on your hand. Too bad it's Rogue and Shaman combination.
I
It's
mean,
almost close to dream
one of
combo.
the funnier ones was when people were talking about the new egg, like Nerubian Egg with it, and they was like, oh, you put like 2 Ancestral Spirits on it, and then you kill it, and I'm like, you don't have enough board position for that.
Yeah. You
And
need
you-
like ancestral healing as well to make it taunt. Give it
Yeah,
taunt.
you need the taunts, and you need everything else, and it's just crazy.
And you call it ancestral egg.
What?
Ancient egg.
The Ancient Egg, yes. Although I do think one of my favorite cards in the spoilers so far, in terms of what I want to see what happens to it, is the Shade of Naxxramas.
I think that card shit.
I don't know if it's bad or not though, because we've seen cards similar to it.
Yeah, I think it's bad to be honest.
Well,
I
isn't
think
it-
it's way too slow.
Isn't
It
it
seems
like
like a secret keeper. No, not secret. What's it called? It seems like a questing adventurer.
Because what I'm thinking about is the fact that, well, people are talking about the fact that it's always a stat behind the curve, but then it can attack on that turn. So it's still it's like a 3-mana 3/3 attacking on turn 3. And
Yeah.
if they don't kill it, which actually does happen in like Zoo, for example, it becomes a 4/4 attacking. Like that was the thing I really saw in it. It wasn't. I mean, people were talking about wombo combos where you like play out on turn 2 with coin or like turn 1 with innervate and then leave it for the whole game.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work.
That's pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. We've seen this with like Gruul. It doesn't work.
Have you?
Yeah, we have like Miracle Rogue with Gruul and Conceal. It's horrible.
I've never seen that actually.
Yeah, but this I mean I think Shade is more of an aggro card than a mid-rangey control card, just because it's a 3/3 that attacks and like they can't really remove without AOE.
Yeah.
And then if it's behind taunt or something, which does happen, it becomes like a 4/4 attacking on the following turn, and already that's a 3-drop that's done 7 damage.
But would you rather have this card than a Harvest Golem?
That's the thing though. I don't know. Like it's
Or Shatter Sun Cleric? Or
there
even Scarlet Crusader?
I would say no for the Scarlet Crusader and Harvest Golem. Shadow Sun Cleric though, you could make cases for, because that does die to AoE. It pushes damage, but then you also lose a card in the process, which Zoo doesn't really care about, but some other aggro decks might. I'm not saying it's a good card. Like, I'm not saying it's a good card, I just think it's something people are going to try.
Yeah, I guess they will try it, but I don't think it's a good card actually.
Alright.
It would be funny if like the hunter came back and he just flare it.
Like, turn 3, Shade, and then it's just like, okay, Flare or King Shot.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah,
but
I don't think the card's too good.
Like, has there been anything from the spoilers so far that's really caught your attention as far as like really constructive playable apart from the warrior weapon?
Egg.
Yeah.
It's like the only playable card. Egg and Death Bite are the only cards that I would see being used frequently right now. Like Undertaker, I don't know.
Undertaker is interesting because it's like
it depends on the cards they're gonna be taking, like coming out in Nax.
If the entire like rest of the set, if the rest of the set has some decent death rattle stuff in it, because what we've seen already is Undertaker would be like a 1-drop in a like an aggro death rattle deck. But so far, the only stuff we have that you'd want to play, you wouldn't really want Egg in that deck because you can't really enable it. So you'd want things like Dancing Sword, Harvest Golem, Leper Gnome, Loot Hoarder, but that's like only 5 minions total of the entire deck. We need more. I think if there's enough like good aggro death rattle cards in the new set, I think Undertaker like would be playable, but not as like a metagame staple, as like a key card in one deck.
Yeah.
So I think that would be interesting, but I've tried my fair share of Secret Keeper decks, and while Underkeeper I think is actually better, it's still Secret Keeper put me off too much.
Yeah, I think it requires too much that doesn't really exist right now.
Yeah.
It's perfect if you can like undertake and then coin out the leper nimsh or something like that.
Turn 1 2/3 and a 2/1. That's dumb.
Yeah, and then like a loot hoarder, but
turn 2
what
loot
kind
hoarder,
of deck would actually want that in? Because if you play Zoo, you don't really want loot hoarders. It's pretty bad card in Zoo. Because you want guys that can keep aggression and going.
What I could see is if there's enough death rattle stuff, you could run it with Paladin.
Paladin?
Because what happens is that like, if you run Redemptions, they have a choice of what they kill. But if they kill the Undertaker, he comes back and they have to kill him again, otherwise he's going to get buffed again. And if they kill any of your other stuff, apart from Dancing Swords, that's awkward. If you kill the rest of the stuff, they get like double death rattle from it. But again, you need more death rattle cards.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
But
I've tried like death rattle decks for like so long, but then I just search for death rattle on the Hearthstone like deck thingy, and there's that much. No cards.
I think I'm gonna make my conclusion on that when we see the whole set, and I'll say my final conclusion on Undertaker when the actual set review comes out, when the full set comes out. So I'll say my final opinions there, but I do think it's one of the cards to watch at least.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on that. I don't think it's like at the moment it isn't good, but I think if they add enough cards to work with it, it could be. And that's sort of what I'm thinking about. So, yeah, I agree with that. Anyway, I think that about wraps everything up. As far as Unleash the Hounds and things like that, we even talked about tracking for a second there.
Oh yeah.
Some of the tracking problems. But anyway, thank you, Darkwonyx, for joining me on this. It's a privilege to have a pro player on here, especially one from Sweden. Especially one from Sweden who is famous for wearing
racist. Just kidding.
Especially someone who is famous for wearing the most elaborate pants ever.
Hey, they're only blue.
Yeah,
like
he's wearing the
nowadays.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching.
No problems. I was watching myself on the camera like all the time.
Watching myself with the blurry camera and like.
Why is it so blurry? It's supposed to be like HD and all like fine, but see? I don't even.
Yeah, cameras do that from time to time. But anyway,
IKEA.
thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback or just want to yell at either of us, put it in the comment section below. If you want to come chat, like I'll put the Teamspeak address that I'm usually on, and sometimes Dark is as well, which is managrind.com, and you can come on. I'm usually on there in terms of EU times, so just come and say hi. But as for now, this has been Jotto and Darkwonyx, signing off.